throne, maybe? I don't know if there is a throne. We're going to talk about administrative faculty, open forum things. I want this to be interactive as much as possible. Ask questions. We have a Q&A at the end, but we're open to having a dialogue. Even controversial questions, you can ask those where we need to hear them. We learned a lot from what we've done before. We did a academic faculty presentation just prior to this, met with the TMT just prior to that, and then earlier this morning we met with the president and some of the vice president's academic affairs. So we're learning more and more about CSN. What we want to do is do a history and brief basically about what NCHI's done and what initiated this project. A highlight of the projects. In other words, what we have been engaged to do. We found out this morning that a lot of people weren't really clear on what was the scope of work. We weren't when we applied, and possibly a lot of people weren't, but as we went through the process, it became clearer and clearer what were the parameters of what we could and couldn't do, and we'll talk about that. So we give you the objectives, the administrative faculty compression concerns. A lot of them are similar to academic, but not all. And so we'll tell you what we'll be looking at for administrative faculty, and then also share what we're doing with academic, if you're interested, so you'll know the difference. Then we're going to talk about who we are. I'm going to give you a little bit about my background, the team that we're bringing here, about Elena's background and Jim's. It's kind of, usually it's who we are is up front, but we want you to know what the task is, what the challenge is, and then we want to convince you that we put together a team that's capable of delivering on that. And that's why we're doing it in that order. So it won't take long to get there. The project approach, the priorities, project phases, the timeline associated with those, our communication plans and the emphasis that the RFP put on having communication, transparency and involvement of faculty administration, administrative faculty and academic faculty. We're going to give you an example of some of the analysis we've done at other community colleges with respect to salary compression. I'll also explain our methodology that we use to evaluate. We're going to be looking at your job titles, and we're going to evaluate whether they're in, if we think they're in the correct job grades. And I'll tell you how we're going to do that. Important resources, just our list of contacts, and then the Q&A. And like I said, you can put this in every one of these, okay? And if you don't, I'll probably ask you. History in brief. I'm going to start with the assumption that you probably know this, but let's remind you some more. The NCHI updated the community college administrative salary schedule by indexing grades 1 through 7 at 83.3% of the university salary schedule. Do you know how they did that? Does everybody understand how they did that? They did a market study at the university level using CUPA, the College, University, and Professionals Association, which does faculty market studies in higher education and is the one go-to place that people go to get that data. There are other places you can go.
They also provide administrative salary surveys.
Yeah, they do administrators. They do a faculty survey for administrators and for professionals. And what they did for the university, figured out what the market was for that, and then we got the median for the universities, and then took 78% to establish the midpoint for your salary schedule that you have, and we'll show you that, how they did it. Current employee salaries are, and then they said, okay, here's a new salary. They just basically changed the numbers in the cells. Some went up. Some, I guess you could say, went up maybe $100. That's not up to me, but some went up more, more than others. A couple stayed flat. The current employee salaries are not changed when the new salary schedule is adopted. This comes out of the NCHI Chapter 3 report guidelines on compensation and higher education. So basically what they're saying is that when you transition employees over, faculty below the minimum may be brought up to the minimum. And I'm using faculty, is that okay? And if you understand, I'm talking about administrative faculty. that administrative faculty below the minimum may be brought up to the minimum. So if you happen to, your salary, if you're a relatively new hire, or if you're a new hire 5 years ago and they're at the same place, then the new minimum, you may be below that. So by law and policy, you can't be paid below the minimum of your grade, so you would be moved up. Everybody else would get transitioned as is. So if one group gets moved up, they're going to bump into people that are already there, right? And so we're going to be looking at that. That's going to cause problems. Institutions may review salaries for equity adjustments. What they did was they told CSN and other colleges, here's the structure you're going to use, this is the framework, but how you get there is up to you. But we want you to work with your faculty to develop a strategy to get there and to deal with internal equity issues. They define internal equity as your qualifications for the job, so you compare with people that have the same qualifications, and years of experience. So that makes it good in terms of analyzing that. So given this, the purpose of this project is to assist CSN administration and faculty, administrative faculty, in transitioning salaries to the new salary schedule by adjusting salaries to align with the new range minimums and through internal equity adjustments. So that not all colleges are going to do this, because there's no requirement they do it. CSN's doing it, Truckee Meadows is doing it because they're part of this. I don't know if other colleges may have just moved people. But we know that if they've, given the economic conditions, we know that they're going to have compression, so they should be doing it. All right. So basically this is where you are, and this is where you're going to be. And what they did, I think I'll show you in the next one to make sure. Okay.
Next one.
Yeah. Okay. Given this little background, the objectives of the project are to confirm that administrative faculty positions are appropriately placed in the relevant salary tiers, identify discrepancies in salary grade tier placements as appropriate, recommend alternate salary grade tier placements. So if you're in a particular job title and it's listed as a salary grade 5, we would be looking and saying, do we agree with that based on our evaluation of the job duties on that. So, and you want to do that before you transition people, right? So it doesn't mean people would go down, because they never take people down. They'll freeze you, but they won't move you down, but they will move you up. So that's the first thing they asked us to do, was to look at that. That's a form of internal equity too. People will say, you may not know exactly what somebody makes, but you know whether you're working harder than them. And you'll know whether they're making more or less. And so what we try to do is develop a system where that's dealt with. Address internal equity and compression issues that resulted from the 5-year salary increase moratorium, salary reductions, furloughs, as well as a transition. We break it out in 2 ways. When you look at salary compression or internal inequity, there's a source of compression is going to come from transitioning to the new salary schedule. A second source, and it's a group of sources actually, will come from the history of the economic situation with respect to new hires, the traditional thing of what you think about salary compression. When new hires start to come in higher than people that are already in the jobs. That can happen because of market conditions. In this case, it's a combination of market conditions, and it's a combination of the salary freezes that you've had. By market conditions, IT. When you're hiring IT or nurses, the demand and supply don't match, so it gets higher. And one of the salary surveys we looked at, this was for academic faculty, because they were looking at professors, associate professors, assistant professors, and instructors. They had a new column. It was called recently hired assistant professors. And we saw that there was some recently hired assistant professors making more than assistant professors or associate professors. And first we thought it was a mistake. And then we realized it was the market, that in order to hire these people, and so they actually recognized it and pulled them out. It doesn't make it right, but that's that's the reality of it. The other thing we want to do is review compensation policies such as initial placement, movement through the range, and performance to ensure ongoing compensation equity practices. Underlying how you get paid are the policies that determine your initial placement, how you get promoted, what are your professional opportunities, and other ways to advance in the salary schedule and in your profession. If those aren't in sync with the changes you made, in a few years you'll be back where you were. So we always look at the policies and say that in order to continue the increases that you've made as a result of the study, these are the policies that you need to address so that you won't backpedal. Additional initial observation, causes of salary compression. I mentioned this, new hires bumping into or exceeding current employees whose salaries have been frozen for years, traditional definition of salary compression. Salary compression due to positions that are below the minimum that bump into, that's the second source, and then of course the economic situation. So that's kind of the environment we're looking at. Okay, now, there may be others, and so you should tell us. This morning we learned that in the academic faculty, there was a few people that were concerned about whether the years of service were accurately recorded for people because there had been some policy changes, not from the administration, but from the state, that impacted some people that they felt that they weren't in the right step. And see, we wouldn't capture that unless we knew the history of what's happened here. So we need to know that. The history is in your head. It's not written in a paper. It's that knowledge that you've acquired by working here. All right. About us, I'm going to have Elena talk about us. Because one time we did these town halls, and they made us do about 4 or 5 of them. I remember the other day I said something to Elena, and she goes, I don't want to hear your voice again for the rest of the day. I said, I didn't do it on purpose.
No, I didn't.
Is that
say
true?
that.
Yes, it is.
But it can become monologues sometimes. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about us. We've been around since 1994. We've been providing services to not just higher education, actually, but to education, to K through 12 as well, as Ulibarri and Associates, mainly to provide statistical analysis and teacher trainings. In 2004, our firm was reorganized with me joining and owning part of the company, and we expanded our services to other governmental agencies as well. Today we have with us James Fleming, but we have other part of the team, other members of the team that will be coming in tomorrow as well. I'm going to go through their qualifications later. These are the partial list of the organizations, mainly higher eds, that we provided services to in the recent past. And one of that, the University of Houston downtown, is ongoing right now, as well as the Texas Tech University system. We've done Alamo Colleges and Dallas County Community College District, as well as the Santa Fe Community College when it comes to community colleges.
What's interesting here is at Alamo, we were hired by administrators, went through an RFP process just like here. Santa Fe, we approached them to do some research. And Dallas, the Faculty Senate hired us.
Yes.
Because they were going through reductions in pay. At the community college.
They're changing the formula pay. They're changing their formula pay.
They're changing their formula pay and stuff, but they were responding to the economic situation at the state. And so the faculty had heard about the work we did at Alamo, and they asked us, and we told them, well, okay, but we're going to, what we find is what we find. We're not good. You don't tell us what we want to find. And so they did, and we went in and we helped them establish an argument for where they should make their compromises at what group. And there was a group. And it wasn't faculty and it wasn't administrators.
This is the team. We have, of course, Daniel Ulibarri. He is a graduate of the UC Berkeley. He got his PhD in cognitive psychology. And for this particular project, he is the principal investigator. His primary duties are communication, final sign-offs of all the deliverables, statistical analysis, job analysis, and compensation structure review. And there's me. I'm a graduate of the University of Hong Kong. I obtained my bachelor's degree in business administration. My major is in HR and finance. My primary duties for this project is project management, resource allocation management, job analysis, particularly for the administrative faculty, job description review and rewrites if necessary, market study for the hard-to-fill positions, and of course the cost-benefit analysis and the financial impact of all the recommendations that we're going to be providing to you guys.
Do you have any certifications?
I also have a certification, which is a professional certification, and it's a certified compensation professional, and SPHR. These are certifications that are conferred to anyone who can pass the exam and prove that they have had the experience practicing HR and also consulting. We have Dr. Sheila Ortego. She is President Emeritus of Santa Fe Community College still, but she's retired from there. But right now, she is an interim president for Pima Community College.
Tucson.
We are very fortunate to have her in our team. When she applied for the job in Pima College, she told them that she has a project that's going to be going on, which is here, CSN and TMCC. And they allowed her to do that. While being an interim president, she still can consult with us. Her role mainly is to give us advice on how things are in terms of community college fundings, budget concerns, advocacy when it comes to communication with the Board of Regents when that becomes necessary. We're going to have to pull her because she's had those experiences and the knowledge behind her. Brian Stout. Brian is a faculty at Alamo Colleges. We are also, again, very fortunate to have him in our team. He's a graduate of the University of Texas Health and Science Center in San Antonio. He has his PhD in pharmacology. And for this purpose, Brian actually provides insight and also analysis in terms of statistics and in terms of bridging the gap, or so to speak, between consultants, administration, and faculty, because Brian is a faculty member. He consults during Friday because he's still employed at Alamo, but he's allowed to consult one day a week. And I mentioned that we have Dr. James Fleming with us today. He too is a graduate of UC Berkeley. He obtained his PhD from UC Berkeley with a psychological measurement, evaluation, and quantitative methods qualifications. And for this project, his primary role is to provide us with statistical analysis, meta-analysis, and reporting support. And then we also have James Litternick. James, again, is a UC Berkeley alumnus. He obtained his MA in educational psychology from there. And again, he will help us with the statistical analysis, faculty compensation research, and data analysis and reporting. James Litternick sat on the board of Coupa in the past, and right now he is an advisor there. Coupa, of course, is our primary source of data when it comes to obtaining salary survey, both for faculty and for administration alike. Dr. Ellen Switkis is also one of our advisors when it comes to higher ed. She graduated from MIT with her PhD in inorganic chemistry. She is right now still employed as Assistant Vice President Emeritus, although she is retired. She went back as a part-time basis and in an emeritus position at the University of California system. She's been with us since 2005, I believe 2005, and she worked with 2008, I'm sorry. She worked with us on several higher ed projects, including the Metropolitan State College of Denver, as well as Alamo Colleges and Dallas Community Colleges. Okay, now we're going to the project approach.
Okay. So I think we've brought together a team of people that have experience in higher education, both from an administrative point of view, academic. A lot of people from California. They threw two of us out, I guess. There was two left there. But we worked together a long time, and I think we will offer a good team of expertise that to provide you the consulting services you'll need, because we'll be working with you in order to develop solutions to the project. The basic priorities is establishment of a transition management team. That has been done. There's 55 people that have signed up or volunteered to be on it. We met this morning. They consist of the administrative staff, administrative faculty, and academic faculty. The transition of the administrative faculty from current step to the evaluation to equivalent position in the range, obviously that's a priority. Prior to the transition, administrative faculty jobs will be evaluated for placement and appropriate salary grade. I've mentioned that to you. I think if I tell you 3 or 4 times, by the time you leave here, you'll say, yeah, I think I know what they're going to do. Salaries are transitioned to the new schedules, and those below new salary range minimum will be brought up to minimum. So what we're basically going to do is try to fix any of the things that we can find that are inappropriate with respect to pay equity before we transition you, okay, instead of afterwards. Perform internal equity analysis and recommend adjustments for administrative faculty placement. I want to emphasize the word recommend. We don't decide anything. We don't determine anything. We recommend. We will review policies and we'll recommend changes and we'll give a rationale. Those we'll give them to the TMT. We'll give them to administration, but we won't make the decisions. That will be a joint responsibility of the administration and the faculty. The internal equity analysis is conducted to determine apparent compression issues. I use the word apparent because all issues aren't necessarily issues. It could be there's a reason for a person being where they are. It either could be performance and merit got them higher, or performance and merit got them lower. There could be other legitimate reasons. What we're looking for are the ones that we can't explain with any reason other than compression or issues involving what we were contracted to deal with. With that, we look at all instances to see if there's alternative explanations. Now, we have Fleming here, myself, and we have Jim Letternick, who all came from a measurement statistical background at UC Berkeley. We do a lot of data analysis, but we don't make decisions based on statistics. We look at each individual person and then look at the data behind that. So people are saying, how are you going to determine years of experience? How are you going to determine years of hire? Some of them will have a database, but we know that a database is a database. Behind those are things that are anomalies, that were decisions were made, and we have to try to capture those in order to understand and make decisions and recommendations that we can get behind and people will support. We conduct a statistical regression analysis. Again, basically is to look at what we did and see if it helped. And I'll show you, I think we have a chart here before and after, and to show you how it changed. Based on the internal equity results, recommendations are made to individual faculty salaries and if approved, adjustments can be made, okay? We've organized the project in phases. We have the phase 1, and the next slide is going to show us the timeline associated with this. So I'm going to go over this fast, and then when we get the timeline, maybe I'll take a little bit more. The planning, due diligence, and communication. One thing Elena didn't say is that while I did some consulting, I did stop because I was hired by a company to help them organize their international human resources, and I did it because I wanted to work in international. Who wouldn't? You travel all over the world. We were in every continent. That's where I met Elena. I had hired her, and she was director of Asia Pacific. So we had any place that wasn't on the continental, in the U.S., we had offices: Canada, Central America, Africa, Europe, Asia Pacific, and we've been to all of those places doing this type of work. And in that, we use due diligence in there, and due diligence means that we go in, we try to understand the organization, find out what's going on, and also find out what things might go bad, and have a backup for them. And so in all of our projects, what we do, we really rely on getting input from the people that are going to be impacted, because they'll help us to not make mistakes. And if we don't make mistakes, we'll deliver a better product. We'll get a better reputation. You'll be happy, we'll be happy. And you know what? We'll be happy if you're happy. We really take that seriously in terms of, you'll see as you work with us, that we become part of your family. And our job is to convince you to let us in. Review of the NSHE Task Force report. That's a PowerPoint and PDF presentation that you can get a hold of. Do a search, and it'll come up. Basically describes the changes they made for the salary schedules. Now, phase 3, this is where we deviate a little bit from the academic faculty. For phase 3, for academic faculty, we're going to be doing a market study of hard-to-fill positions. For phase 3, for administrative faculty, we're going to look at and apply a point factor system that we use to evaluate placement in your job grade. And we're going to go over that, because I know that you're going to want to know, well, how do you do that? We'll transition you from the step, I don't know if we're supposed to say that. That's probably a typo, step to range, because that's for faculty, for academic faculty. Is that correct?
Administrative faculty.
Okay.
No. Administrative faculty do not have step.
No, they don't. Yeah, that's what I say. That's probably a typo.
That's a typo.
Originally, when we were preparing for this, we decided we needed to have 2 different presentations, not, one for you and one for them, as opposed to one and try to sort it out. So, to save time, we edited, made a mistake.
Okay.
Conduct internal equity analysis and cost impacts. We need to give you all the costs so decisions can be made as to whether these things are reasonable or if there's alternatives that are less expensive. People want to know that. Develop policies and guidelines on initial placement and strategies for ongoing implementation. Drafts and final report. Drafts is plural because we usually do more than one because we get results and impact input from people and say, change this. Ongoing maintenance and implementation strategy. Okay? Oh, you can see we start in September. We're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months. They really want to push this back as much as possible. So this is not even a half-year project to do this. We're doing it for Truckee Meadows as well. What we've done a lot of them. And when we were doing the international work, it was mostly in mergers and acquisitions, and everything had to be done really fast, like 3 months. Okay, yes, thank you.
Just wanted to walk you through about the communication logistics that we have prepared. When we responded to the RFP, one of the major requirements is to have a well laid out communication plan that will ensure transparency of the project, that everybody in the employee group will be aware and will be kept informed. So we have designed and we have proposed these communication logistics accordingly. We will form a TMT, just like what Dan has mentioned earlier, which is a transition management team, and we intend to regularly meet with them for at least once a month meetings. And since this is from September to December, so we have only 4 months, so we'll have at least 4 meetings. But we envision to have more than that, either via face-to-face or via web meetings. Letter announcing the project, that's already been out and distributed. Town hall meetings, this is what we are in right now. Project dashboard. We also will provide you with a project dashboard that shows the status of the project and all the decisions that have been made that can be made public. And depending on what you guys decide, we can put a password to it so that only CSN employees can get access to the project dashboard. Now, another client of ours, they decided to have it public to anybody. And so anyone can get in and take a look. But depending on what you prefer, we can put it as private just for this college. Ongoing communication, and that has to do with the dialogues between you, the administration, and us as consultants, and the faculty as well, and either via emails or telephone calls or via web meetings. Drafts and final report, again, Dan mentioned that there may be several drafts going to be submitted and going to be discussed before a final report is approved or submitted. And then we have the appeals process. In the last round of your study, you had appeals process, and so when we provided our communication plan, we decided to add that as well because we did not want to take that away from you. Because also, if we hopefully, we will do a good job, and hopefully there will be 0 appeals at the end of the day. And this time I would like to talk to you about the individuals that are involved in the project. I mentioned earlier about the team that's on our side of the house. Now this is in your side of the house. We have put together, actually through volunteers, through John Scarborough, he helped us put this together. There's an oversight committee. The oversight committee is made up of the CSN leadership, and that includes the CSN president, the VP for finance and administration, the vice president for academic student affairs, faculty senate chair, AFA chair, and the senior director of human resources. The reason why we have the oversight committee is for us to have the coalition support building. And their main objective is to have a clarification of the objectives of this project and to provide guidance on the trajectory and to discuss the state funding on the higher level, because everything that has to do with the state funding trickles down and affect whatever decision we can make and parameters that we can go in terms of salary increases. And then we formed a transition management team, which we call the TMT. The TMT's sole purpose is to help us communicate and to help review our work, and also to discuss all the results and deliverables and guide the consultants on the lower level, the micro level. And it's made up of the faculty senators, anybody who volunteers, program directors, designated HR personnel. And right now we have altogether, I believe, 54 volunteers in the list. And they're there to set up the working committee and to champion the project, which is very important for this initiative. Questions on this?
See, the goal is to have transparency, but also to have involvement. So you feel that you've been part of the solution, that you know what's going on and you've had a say. And of course, to the extent that we produce results that are responsive to that, you will have more confidence that you're being listened to. So this is a way that we gather information from you and also communicate information. Which, by the way, was a big part of the RFP. It was a category for scoring, was how well the consultants were going to communicate and involve the faculty. Technical explanation. Okay, this is a level of work complexity. This has to do with what we said, that we're going to look at your job titles and look at what grade that job is placed into, and make an evaluation of whether we have any concerns about its placement in the grade prior to making any of the transitions. Level of work complex difficulty, it's a framework that we use that allows us to go in and evaluate any salary schedule. And so like for Texas Tech University, they have 4 different organizations. They have a state college, they have a university, and they have 2 giant health science centers in different parts of the state. They all have the same salary schedule. The state college has their own, but the other 3 have their own, and it's administered separately. But they want to know whether they're being administrated equally, given their locations and stuff. And this allows us to put everything on the same scale. Jobs that are more complex, take longer to complete, require more decision-making, present more unknowns, present more ambiguity, and require more alternative plans. Now, you have a system here that measures complexity, don't you? Each job grade is supposed to get increasingly more complex. So it's kind of similar to this, but I'll show you in a minute how it differs. Because this is, and I say my background's in cognitive psychology, this is based on information processing and the complexity of mental thinking that's required to do the job. I'll give you an example again, this sentence. They take longer to complete, require more decision-making, present more unknowns, present more ambiguity. If you have a job that takes you a year to do, a lot of things could change between now and the end of that year. So you're dealing with more ambiguity, more decisions. You have to have backup plans. If you're doing a job that's completed at the end of the day, not a whole lot can go bad. Yeah, there's fires to put out, but in general, the level of complexity for that job is relatively, I won't say minor, but less than other levels. That's how we distinguish this. And like your system, where you give examples of jobs, these are examples of the types of nomenclature, not because they're not exact, because they can vary, of jobs that fall into these things. In general, we know the jobs in this frame have a level of complexity of work that can be completed from 0, or say an hour, to 3 months. And once you get familiar with the job, the level of complexity and the time horizon for doing the job and other things that are necessary to do it become fairly stable, and these jobs are considered to be of equal level of cognitive complexity. As you go up, it changes. This maps a lot onto an organizational structure, but not exactly. Because we find that there's overlap. We see organizational, first of all, most organizational structures have more than 7 levels. An organization that should have 7 levels would be maybe UNLV, University of California system, because their strategic plan is 20, 30 years. Yours is 5 years, 10 years? Do you remember what it is, John?
I think we go 5 to 7 years.
About 5 to 7 years. So that means that the highest level of cognitive complexity that a person would have to do that, it's going to be here. You don't need a level 7. There's higher levels, but then we're talking about Galois and people, Einstein, people like that. This is based on adult learning theory, that we know that there are levels of complexity that adults go throughout our age. I know I've changed levels. I can do things now that before, when I did them, I didn't understand them, and now they're like, huh? That's simple. Why didn't? Well, I know why I didn't, because I wasn't ready to, but now that I can do them. So we are able to evaluate your jobs and place them into a level like this. Now let's go to the next slide, because I know it's not real clear. Here's your tiers. We've seen some things that call them tiers, some call them grades. But these are your 8 grades. These are the examples of jobs that you have in your literature that fall into these grades. On this last column, what we did is we looked at the job descriptions, and we determined that all the jobs that CSN defines as technical assistants that are in grade 1, we would rate them as a level of complexity of 1. And so we don't see any problems with that. Specialists, advisor, and associate jobs, when we looked at the job descriptions, some of them were level 2 and some were level 3, meaning that some jobs were more complex than another job, in our nomenclature anyways, but they were treated, they were paid the same. And in our model, jobs that are different level of complexity should not be paid the same. Jobs that are the same level of complexity can be paid the same within a range, because within that range, you have knowledge factors, education factors, experience factors, and other things that make a job more difficult, not more complex, more difficult, that require more knowledge, and so they're worth more. But once you start going up and down, you're talking about true differences in the complexity of the job. When we looked at your grade 3, you have analyst, liaison, representative, senior associate, senior specialist. When we rated these jobs, we found some that were level 2 and some were level 3. And going up here, we found your grade 4 and 5 were equivalent to our grade 3. So in our mind, these 2 grades are the same. Look at the job titles. Tell me if you think that those jobs are significantly more complex than the other. We're talking about a project program manager, senior analyst, coordinator, manager, assistant director. These are just job titles. They might look different on your org chart, but think about the job they're doing. And if you think about their time horizon and what they're doing, their complexities are the same. And so we know that these jobs, we're going to, these ones would fall into our level 3. And then you have your director positions, which we say are level 3s and 4, meaning that some directors are doing work that's in this category and some are doing work in this category. The same job title. Okay. And then going up to the executive director, dean, assistant vice president, and vice president. So just from a review of your job descriptions, we would say that we predict that we're going to find some job titles that are in the wrong grade. Okay? Now, what does that mean? It doesn't necessarily follow that that job's less complex or more complex. It could mean the job description's bad, that they didn't capture the job duties, or they've assigned the wrong job duties. So we say to them, is that the first source of problems? And a lot of times people will change job duties. The last thing you want to do is pay a person in grade 5 a grade 5 wage for doing grade 4 work. Do you? And you don't want to pay a person a grade 5 wage for grade 6 work. That's not fair either. Plus, it's not a good allocation of money. So that's the way we approach it and the way we look at it. But like I said, it gives you the opportunity to change your job duties. The person will say, I didn't know that person's job duties weren't that sophisticated. They really should be doing this. And then you see things change. It gets back. I think I said it here earlier, you know what people make and you know how hard they're working. You know it. And we're quantifying it. Okay, let's go to the next one. This is an example at the University of Houston downtown for IT jobs. These are their pay grades. It starts at 47, it goes to 59 because they used to be on the professional faculty salary schedule, and then I think it was a good recommendation. They were moved out because they're a hard-to-fill position, and so they have their own salary schedule. But still, they were in the grade structure, so all of a sudden, the grades go to 46 and stop, and then this weird thing comes in at 47 to 59. And so we looked at the job grades, and we did that. We looked at whether, because the jobs were going to be in levels 1 through 4 in terms of level of complexity, and we found that pay grades, there was only one position here, a pay grade 50 has 13 job titles in it. 10 of them we rated as in level 1, and 3 as level 2 jobs. So either you change the job duties or you move those 3 level jobs, 50 grades up 2 grades to 52.
And to get them into us, and I think we've gotten, or we have what we consider to be relatively current ones for about 2/3 of the administrative faculty, and we're working to try to get the other third.
Okay, now.
What kind of a deadline do you have, Sean? Yesterday? Friday.
Now, but that's not your only hope.
Yeah, this has been ongoing.
That's not your only hope. So we're aware of that. So we say, he's going in and doing due diligence and saying, update your job descriptions because they're going to be used for this. If we find something wrong, we're going to go back and say, I know you updated or you didn't update it. Here's what we found. Help us. Do we run with this, or does this need to be fixed? So there's at least 2 points, 3, because after we're done, if you're not happy, you get to appeal it. So it's not like we just put the ball under and go. We're going to be checking. Because these decisions are important. We want them to be permanent. We want to make sure that we cover things. We want people to feel they're being treated fairly. We want the administration to also feel that they've been treated fairly. Because, a lot of people say, well, everybody wants to get, well, that's not true. When people see the reality of data and stuff like that, they know and they will agree. They're more compromising than people think. And so if we can get everybody there as an organization, then as you go forward, you won't have the types of problems that you're having now. Not only that, you probably have more money because you should be more efficient. Like I said, you don't want to pay a guy a level 6 salary for doing level 5 work. Do you have any? Don't want to say? We all do. Okay, or vice versa. We have a client that's They haven't done a study in 100 years, I guess. I mean, they got 103 job titles and 92 job grades. I mean, everybody has their own job grade. And we're looking at it, it looks like somebody got the lead and went, there's the salary schedule.
It was funny.
Okay, so these are, you can contact us, you can contact us directly. There's no protocol that you need to go through, right, John? Through anybody. You can contact us. You can contact John, Patty, make suggestions, ask questions. This is our email for myself and Elena. These are our cell phone numbers. So when you call, you will get us. And people do call us, and we're practically 24/7. And email us, and we respond, because we know it's going to help us. Yes, sir?
Will you be making recommendations for a new salary range?
No.
Or will you be using the existing salary range?
Yes, thank you, because we didn't communicate that clearly. At the very first slide, where we were trying to communicate on the first couple of slides, and she handed out the salary structure. That's the parameters under which the colleges can pay people. And those are fixed. How much they pay people within those parameters is up to the college. And that's why they're doing the study. Take advantage of this opportunity to go in and look and find ways to do this. The downside is they also told the college to find the money, right? Well, we tell people, we've had people say, well, why are you doing the study? There's no money, they're not going to do anything anyways. Because it's on the table. Managers are paid higher because they have a longer horizon of work, some involving strategy. They have to be strategic thinking. So they want to apply their work and resources in a way that helps them achieve the long-term goals. If salary is not on the table, do you think it'll be addressed? If it's on the table, do you think it'll be addressed? Of course it will. It'll be one of those things where they have to align the resources to account for what they need. And I tell you, I mentioned it earlier, more and more people are realizing that people are important. We're in the information age. We told faculty that some of the things that we created for community colleges, that we gave, if you're here in your job and you go a year and you get a percentage increase, and a new hire comes in, and say you're at your level, well, in the first quartile, you're at the above, between the first quartile and the midpoint, and somebody else gets hired right at the first quartile, they're getting close to you. Our strategy is that we gave the increments smaller so they couldn't bump you. We could credit them, but because the years of experience here were worth more than a year experience outside. Why? Because you know the inner workings of this college. You know who you can count on. You have networks set up. You know where the resources are. You know how to get the job done. A new person doesn't know that. It's going to take them at least a year to figure out what to do. So your year, 2 years, 3 years is worth more than any year in other organizations. As a discipline, maybe not, but in terms of getting the job done, it is. That's the knowledge in your head. Unfortunately, we don't pay people for that. Our model starts to say, yeah, but you should be. You don't want, there's more. When you lose people, there's more than just the cost of going out and advertising and stuff. That person walked out the door with a lot of knowledge. So we try to tame people. We give an example of the pothole filler, about the cognitive abilities of a pothole filler. If we have time, I'll tell you.
Are you guys also looking at hiring practices, just in the range of deciding that when we put out positions for hire, are we compatible with market salaries?
I don't believe that's a part of the scope of work. What is, though, is anything that impacts your pay. So we would look at any policies that would help, that impact how much you're going to get paid. For example, your initial hire, whether you can be, the policies they have, which will probably stay the same, but you can hire up to, the first quartile, and then you have to get permission for above that, and then you have to go to the president for something else. So we wouldn't look at that. But we would look to see whether you have some policies that are in effect that are contradictory to some of the fixes we just made, and that are either going to make them not work or make them occur again. So we would look at that. Faculty, it's a little bit easier because there's academic faculty, because there's a real defined in terms of their initial pay, their years of experience, those, and how fast they move up. So we would look at, and Lena already mentioned it, we would say, okay, look at your staff. You have people that have been here in that 5 to 6 year thing, and they're below the median. That's not a good, healthy sign. If we're taking temperature of the organization, we would say not a healthy sign. And so in addition to your equity adjustments, you do want to move those people that are there to where they should be. That's another form of equity. It's not compression, but it's a form of equity. You should, that's the unwritten contract. When we do a market study, they said that's what you should get paid when you're fully competent at your job. You're new, so you're here. But after 5 to 6 years, you should be there. And if you're not, there's something wrong. You know, and that's what we see. We see a lot of, and you know what we find? People aren't saying we want more money. They're saying, I don't like where I am. I'm in the first quartile, and I've been here for 5 years. I should be up here by now. And so it's not necessarily the money. It is the money, but it's the money and then rubbing your face in it.
Okay, we have to unfortunately wrap up unless there's any last questions. We have to get these folks over to Cheyenne for their next session. Any other pressing questions that anyone has right now?
Just one really quick one. The scale you had with the grades and the changes from the minimums, the mediums, and maximums that you displayed here, that I have on my download here, is that the 2013-14 administrative salary schedule? Is that actually policy or is that just plan?
No, that's board adopted policy.
That's policy.
When we received our new contracts July 1st, we should have seen.
No adjustments were made
Okay.
at that time. Pending the salary, outcome of the salary study, anyone who is not at the minimum of the new range to which their new grade that they're assigned to, anyone not at the minimum will be retroactively paid back to the minimum.
Okay.
Just for bringing people to minimum. Not any of the other salary equity adjustments that might be made. But if somebody is below the minimum, the new minimum, they will be brought to the new minimum retroactive to July the 1st. And if you look at the new minimums, they're literally just $100, $200, $300 at most.
Yeah.
A difference. I think
much.
one grade, salary grade 5, actually went down slightly, but no one is going to lose any money if they're assigned to salary grade 5 and are at the current minimum. They stay at the current.
So what you need to understand is that NC or the state gave the college the framework within which they have to work, and then allowed them to do this, and they allowed them to do it within 5 months. So this morning, we got a lot of feedback from people saying we didn't get enough time. Well, they have to deal with this thing. We have to figure out how do we communicate to people. So maybe we need to do more town halls to give people more time, but we needed to get the project going. The other thing they did is they said, we understand that with this short notice people can't make it, so we'll videotape it and we'll have it available for them. So they are thinking, they're doing their due diligence. And then as we do find out more, we figure out ways to make sure that we meet our communication obligations and stuff. So just understand that the president and the administration just say, hey, let's do this in 5 months and shove it down everybody's throat. They know that they got a deadline to meet in order to make salary changes to affect them, and they're trying to do it. And I think that's one of the reasons they picked us, because we told them we're used to doing stuff like this fast and not leaving people's involvement out.
John, is 5 minimum correct? Because it's actually the
It went down. The new salary grade 5 went down. It used to be 319,196, and now it's 72864. But once again, if you're at the minimum of salary grade 5 right now, 73196, and when we go to the new schedule, we're not going to take whatever it is, $300 away from you. So, but yeah, it's the only. I think it's the only one that went down. Okay.
Yeah, we were going to show those, but there was a couple that went up a couple thousand. The other ones went up 300, 200, and then, like you said, one went down.
Okay. Thank you very much, and keep watching your emails.
Thank you.